Kenny here with Gardening Simplified. Today we're going to do another one of those fig planting videos to where we propagate figs. I hope you're not tired of them. I'm sure not tired of propagating them, and this one is going to be a little bit different or have a little bit of difference in it. So let's get into it. Today is January 16th and I'm propagating some figs. And these figs here, I don't know exactly what the name is. I know they know where they or who they purchased them from, but don't know exactly what the name is. But that's not going to stop me from propagating these. Now I have 4 other varieties that I do know the names of, but these are supposed to be some good figs. I went to get 2 or 3 or 4 cuttings. I ended up with some long limbs, so I've got quite a few cuttings. But also, some of the cuttings that I have, these are, this is some limbs. They were kind of let go. They had the big freeze that we had the first part of last year, killed these back to the ground, which is not uncommon, you know, because it really got cold. And anyway, they come out good. In fact, they really grew fast. Some of these cuttings, when I cut them, and I might use them, I might not, but some of them grew so fast that the nodes were so far apart that I can't get but one in the ground. But I'll decide by the cuttings when I get there. But anyway, you got this one, and this one just really has some roots on it. And when you have something like this, you don't have to worry about rooting it in, because this limb it grew fast. It was pretty soft. It kind of leaned down through the summer, mowing and stuff like that. Covered enough grass clippings, different things around it, that it got into the ground and started rooting, and it really started rooting in fast. And I've got a few others. They're kind of the same way. This is cut off of one of them. It's got good roots. It won't go in this big a pot. I have another one here, and then I have another one here. So I have 4. I have enough really with just those 4, but I'm going to plant the other ones. You know, I might want to end up giving a fig tree away, or just plant more of them, because I don't know the variety, so I don't know if it's going to be good to have a bunch, if they're going to be similar to other ones that I have. So I know I will plant some, but I don't know if I'm going to plant all of them. But what I'm going to do here, I'm taking these roots and I'm putting them down into this pot. I put a little bit of compost or potting mix on the bottom, and what I'm going to do is put some potting mix on top of that. And the way this was growing is here. This limb came across, went in the ground. Like I say, I cut another one off it because it had a root and I could do it. And what I'm going to do is take all these. I'll leave the part up. I'm sure this is going to come out. This other one, which I just broke off, is good that it's not there, but it's going to come out. I'm thinking this one's still alive. This will probably be primary, and I'll probably let the other come out too. But I'm just going to put more soil in here so that it can, so the roots have a good area, and they're gonna. This won't be long once it warms up just a little bit and I get past the freezes. This one I might keep in a warm area so it goes ahead and starts leafing out, being I don't have to worry about it because it has good roots to support it. So I might just keep it in my workshop here where it's warm, put it by a window, and let it get started good. So I'll have this one and these others too should produce this year. But if you're collecting, if you're wanting a fig tree and you're collecting cuttings and things, You know, I didn't expect to get this. It just happened to be there. And also, this is a friend of mine, Sarah from Nacogdoches, and her mama. Actually, her mama's trees, I think, but they're real nice about sharing some cuttings with me. I try to return the favor. In fact, I told them once I get all my trees out there, and if they start getting figs, they can come by and we'll sample them, and maybe they might want another variety, because there are so many varieties of figs, and I didn't realize until I got into the started really getting interested in propagating them. But anyway, I'll water this in. I'll have to find me a tray so that this can set on, and like I say, I'll keep it in here with a few others, and just see if I can't really get some leaves going on these. All right, I have the other three potted up too. They are ready to go, and these should be some super nice trees. These are going to come out earlier or quicker. Now, I do have a couple that are in pots that they gave me too, that they had planned to move them, and they're really stunted. They do have some dead growth on them, and we'll get to them here and fix them up. But we'll probably do it. We might do it later in the video, or I might wait and do another video on that, because I know you really can't be sick of fig videos yet. By the time I get finished, maybe all of my subscribers will be planting on the fig tree. So let's get into the new varieties that I just received, and we'll get them potted up. All right, I've had my couple of my varieties here start out. Now I have this Jenko or Gino, or I'm not sure how you pronounce it. This is supposed to be kind of a sweet figgy flavor for this one. This was a variety that was given to me whenever I ordered. He threw in a couple of these, so they'd give me a different variety. Now, for those that don't go back and watch other videos, and those that do watch the videos, just kind of bear with me for a second. So we'll go over this. I'm using these plastic cups. These are 16 ounce, and I've made holes in the bottom of them. And my mixture here is 50-50 peat moss and perlite. So it will retain some moisture, but it's got good drainage. And what I'm doing here, I'm putting a fresh cut on the end, but I'm coming down here, and I'm taking and making some cuts on both sides of this, so that it has a chance of more of a rooting area. Now, whenever you're rooting this, now this particular one, I could, because of all the nodes here, I could cut this, and I could make two out of this one, but I don't know this variety. I don't know how well I'm going to like it. If I want more, because I have so many figs that I'm rooting right now, I can always take a cutting from this plant. Now, once we go through all that, we're going to take this rooting compound. Now, I used to wet these, but I've stopped. I just cut it a little bit, and then I'll let it sit there a little bit. Any sap that's in here can make it stick or adhere just a little bit better. But we're going to do another one, and you need to, whenever you plant this, I like to have at least 2 nodes down into the soil. If they get more, that's great. And normally I would say don't push them all the way down to the bottom, but the way that I do this, that'll be fine. But a lot of times, especially if your mixture isn't well drained, you'll hold a lot of moisture in the bottom and it could cause rot on the end. But I'm going to push down pretty close to the bottom. I'm going to get as many nodes as I can on some of these. I'll only get 2, some I'll get more. But the whole intent is with these plastic cups, I can see when roots start coming up, and then I can pot them up into a bigger container, let them go ahead and start leafing out, and then whenever they get to leafing out pretty good, go put them in their permanent location in the ground. Because I don't grow figs in pots. Here I've got plenty of area to plant them in ground, so what I'm going to do is I'll plant these out. But anyway, that's kind of the basic of this. Now whenever you're doing your mix, you can do it different ways. You could moisten it enough to where it just barely drips any water out of it, or you could just moisten it. I always say moisten it before you put it into your container, because what happens is, and we're going to try to set this a little more directly up so it starts out. Of course, it wouldn't matter if it started at an angle. I could always pot it to where it's upright once I get into the ground. But anyway, pre-moisten it, and then whenever I put them into their little propagating tub, then we go from there. Now, on these others here, these are Lsu Purple, and this is kind of supposed to be a mild sweet, mild tasting fig, but I'm not real clear on what the flavor is. I know a lot of them talked real good about it. Now, both of these are medium figs, so they're not the little bitty ones. They're probably somewhere mid-range, around 50 grams. So they'd make a really good fig. But on these others where they've been cut on the top, I take and I'll wrap parafilm on them. Now, the ones in previous videos, some that I wasn't putting into a kind of a tub to hold moisture good. On these stems, I would go ahead and wrap them all the way down to where they were where they were going to be into the soil, and that protect them. And when you put this film on, if you stretch this film as you put it on, then it's not a problem with the buds breaking through and coming on out and leafing. This film is biodegradable, so that helps too. But anyway, we're going to do these the same way. We're just going to, I don't like to cut off my bud, so I kind of, when I do it on 2 sides, and that ought to be a good place for roots to come out, and that does help in rooting. Now I've got other videos where I've tried 3 different ways, and we'll see how that ends up in the end. But right now, this is the method that I think I'm going to get the best results out of. Before, when I rooted fig tree cuttings, I used to just stick them into the ground or into a pot. You know, keep them moist, keep them in a shady spot. You don't want them in full sun. You don't really want them drying out on the top either. So that's where your parafilm comes in for that. Now, some of mine aren't covered, but they're in my greenhouse, which the humidity stays pretty high. Probably not today, being at last night I think it got down to 28. So anytime it gets real cold, normally the humidity gets real low. Now I'm sticking this real deep. I'm putting most of the nodes out. One node up above the ground is plenty enough for rooting it in. Now on these here, and I'm going to stick my tags. I've changed to, I'm going to start using metal tags because the plastic ones, it doesn't take long for the writing to come off of them. And being these trees are going to be around for a long time, I'm just going to start using metal tags to tag these with, and you can pick these up on Amazon or somewhere. These are just aluminum tags. I was going to use copper because I do a lot of silversmithing and such as that, and I had copper for my projects, but I thought, and use my engraver and engrave them, but I thought this would be an easier way, less complicated. But anyway, make sure that you label them. You might not really care whenever you have one, but if you get like me and your memory starts getting a little bit fuzzy, then you'll want to have some way to remember. And the saying is a short pencil is better than a long memory. So we'll go with that. But anyway, that's that variety. Now I have some others. Now this variety here, this is Desert King, and Desert King is kind of a big fig. I think it's kind of a I'm not sure if it's a honey flavor or something, but it's supposed to be a really good fig, and it's a little bit different than some of the others I have. Now I have 6 of these to put in, and then the other one I have here, this is a Celeste, and a Celeste is another one that's a different flavor. Now the Desert King is, I think it's a large fig, close to 100 grams, so it's a pretty big fig. I've seen them where they've been quite large, close to tennis ball size, and they don't suffer on flavor when they get large. That's the important thing, because a lot of times with the larger fig, yes, you have a big fig, but it has no flavor. The texture's not there. It's just not really a good fig, and that's what's important, because there are figs that I've seen that are really big figs, but just because I'm in Texas and everything's bigger down here doesn't mean I want a big nasty fig. So if I'm gonna get a larger fig, I want some flavor to it. But anyway, let me get to preparing some of these. These Celeste fig cuttings that I'm doing here, and I didn't mention for those that's not familiar. Now this is a rooting hormone. It helps cut down on some of the bacteria that might affect it. Plus, it promotes rooting. So, but anyway, these Celeste cuttings here, these were actually I can get to them. They were actually really long cuttings, but as you can see, the nodes are real close on these. So what I did was I cut them into half, chose a spot and cut them into half, because even with this I can plant 3 nodes of this under the soil, and I still have 2 nodes that are above the soil. So it's excellent when you get these cuttings that have a whole lot of things. Even if this was shorter, there's still so many nodes on here that it would be excellent root stock to you know, cut into more than one. But I just wanted to share that with you. Now I'm going to put these into these pots, and I'll shove them down. Like I say, I don't really need but just one node up. That's got a couple, because it's got a lot of slow growth. When you have one that's got slow growth, it sets its nodes. You'll see nodes set more often. When you get that really fast growth, like maybe from a sucker or something like that, then you won't. You'll have your nodes really far apart. But like I say, I don't need much of this out. I just enough so that I can get some leaves. In fact, if it grew roots, I'm sure it would even grow out from under the soil. But we'll get those in there. Anyway, now all I've got left is the Desert King. So let me get these in the little propagation tub. When you get a cutting, and I don't know if I've mentioned this in this video, but make sure that you make a fresh cut on the end of it. Now occasionally, and you'll see this one here is it's a little darker. There might be a little problem with it sprouting as quick or whatever. Most of your fig cutting salespeople will leave you enough room below this bottom bud so that you can put a clean cut on that whenever you put it in. And then of course we're going to do this one like the rest of them. We're just going to cut that off, and then we'll take and plant these up. But these here are the Desert King. I'm looking forward to a lot of these. Now, some of these varieties, they'll put on a Breva crop. And what that is that's a crop that when you, it comes on first. A lot of times it's, what it is after it's put on its main crop during the season, it will start setting buds, and those buds will actually, or little fig buds. But those buds will actually produce figs before the main crop. Now the main crop comes out on your new growth. So the Breva crop come up on your last year's growth. And and some figs only put out a Breva crop unless you live somewhere where they've got fig wash, somewhere down in California or some other place. But we don't have any around here, so they're not going to pollinate to put out a main crop on certain varieties. And there's like 3 different categories of figs, and I'm not going to go into that. But there's certain varieties that have to have that wash to put on a main crop, but a lot of times they'll put on a Breva crop. The flavor is on some of these is well, I'd say is great, because you got to have something better. But the main crop, if you have the fig wash, and it does get pollinated, and there's some people that actually collect pollen from some of theirs and they hand pollinate, and where they don't have those fig wash, and the figs are noticeably larger. Some of them are much larger than the unpollinated figs, and they are much better flavored. And some of these, like this one here, the Desert King, you might taste the figs the first year, and they say they might not be all that great. Some people say yes, they are, but a lot of them say you've got to wait for maybe 3 to 5 years before you actually it develops that taste. And it might be with the roots getting into the soil and everything else, but the taste or the flavor of a lot of figs gets a whole lot better after the tree matures for a few years. So if you have a certain one, and I know I was watching a video of one fig grower that had quite a few varieties, and there was one he was going to throw out. After the second year, the fig wasn't much better, but he didn't, and that next year the figs were like fantastic. So know that too about figs, because there's a lot of things that affects the flavor of figs. Looks like I got this last bunch all potted up, ready to go. Now, this variety, it was picked up from the Stephen F. Austin Arboretum sale, so I don't really know the name. Like I say, I got a cutting thanks to Sarah and Andrea for giving me these, but I'm just going to call this variety SFA, and that way I'll know where they come from. But like I say, I don't know what the true name of the variety would be. Now let me get to those 2 figs that's needing some attention in the pots. Okay, this is what we have. We have 2 figs that's been neglected in the pots, and I need to decide how we're going to prune these up, because right now some of it is pretty simple. Now this fig here, we know we're going to have to take off this growth here, because this is dead. We don't want it, but we have one nice runner coming up here, and we have this other one. Now I could pot this up, but not knowing what kind, I think what I'll do is end up just taking this off, and I'll wait till I get it out of the pot. But this one has been in this pot for a while, and it's the only reason it's doing as good as it is, you can see the root has come out the bottom, and it's taken and found it another source of nutrition. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this out of this pot, and we'll leave that root, even though it doesn't have any feeder roots to it now. We'll go ahead and leave that. I'm going to repot this, but a lot of this soil, and I'm sure this thing is kind of root bound. We'll get this separated out and take a look at it. It probably is definitely say, give me some nutrients, give me some nutrients. Oh, I feel so sad for it. But you can see this root coming around. It's wrapping around and wrapping around, wrapping around, coming in over here. It's definitely root bound up. Now, we want to save these roots pretty much, but we want to get them to where they're kind of freed up. Now, I'm not going to put this out just yet. And so what I'm going to do is just repot it, but I'm going to get rid of most of this dirt that's on here, so that whenever it goes back, it has fresh soil to go into. So what I'm going to do is, now this did have a tag, but I couldn't determine anything by the name on the tag. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of this soil. We'll take and add it to the compost. It doesn't look like there's any problems that I need to be worried about. But all I'm going to do is, I've got a bag of some potting mix. It's Stay Green, and it seems to be fairly good as far as the texture. I like it. It's well drained. Now, a lot of people put rocks and stuff in the bottom of the pot. You're welcome to if that's what you feel that you need to do. But I'm going to put a little bit in there, that way it's got some for the bottom. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of this part over here. And it does have a hole in here. That's not uncommon. A lot of times to see that, people worry about it. I'm going to plant this where it's got, I might cut it just a little bit more, give it a slight more angle, but it's not going to matter. It's still going to get moisture in there, but that shouldn't cause any big problems with it. But what I'm going to do now, I'm not going to bury that part below the soil because that's inviting something. Of course, it would always root in beside it probably, or something like that. Now, this potting mix does have a little bit of fertilizer in here, and they say don't fertilize your plants in the winter time. You're fine. You just go ahead and don't do that. I'm a firm believer that this organic fertilizer doesn't, and this is not very hot, so when you see me put quite a bit in there, it's not going to hurt. But it's this is a 356, which you're going to need root growth, but you don't need a lot of nitrogen. So you'd be better off with something like that. But I'm just going to kind of mix this in just a little bit. I'm going to add some more soil. And what I want to do too is kind of push this soil down. Now, what I'll do now is water this in good. I could go ahead and clip the top and encourage it to branch out. But it might want to do some of that from just cutting off this other leader that was coming up from it, this other branch. So we're going to call this good. What I'll do with this one is I'll take it outside and water it. It's a little too big to keep in here, and I'll probably just put it in the greenhouse. That way it's a little bit warmer, so it might bud out early. It'll be protected in there enough that it shouldn't get enough of a freeze if it does start budding out to affect the leaves, and kill it back. In fact, I'll probably water it out there, because if I do, it'll be a whole lot lighter to deal with. So that's got that one. This one is going to be a little bit more of a challenge to figure out how that I want this. It's going to be depend on how the roots are coming out. We do have some leaves that have died. This is kind of in a sheltered place, so it went ahead and budded out. But what I might do is go ahead and clip this off right here, leave this for the main, or either I might just clip this off over here. I might do both of them, just leave both of them, let this one come up and let this shoot out over here. I'll take off this other that looks dead. We don't need any dead wood. Of course, that cut like it's pretty good. Let's cut this up here higher and see. No, that definitely isn't the best of wood, but cutting this now, that's back to good wood, so we don't have to worry about any rotting there. We'll leave part of these now. Like I say, I don't like the way that one's growing out, so I'm going to trim it here. When you go to prune your trees, you want to prune them in a way that you have a bud on the direction that you want it to grow, because what's going to happen is now that all that energy that was going to trying to go to the end is going to, when it gets there, it's going to take and start branching out from that last bud. So that's the way you get the form of your tree. But anyway, I'm going to do this the same way. I'm going to take this out, give it some fresh potting mix so it can go ahead and start rooting in good. I'll put it out in the greenhouse and we'll see how this buds out. Like I say, well, we don't know what kind of variety this is, so we don't have to worry about tagging it, because the only time I would tag it is if I knew what it was. And being I don't, we'll call it nothing. Okay, now let's take a look at our propagation tubs. All right, this tub here is a 32 quart hefty, and it fits 11 of my cups in there. And all we do is we put this lid on here. Now, I watered these in so they're good and moist. Now what I'll do is I'm going to put bottom heat on here to encourage growth. If it gets too humid, which it shouldn't for these because figs root out real quick, I'll take and move them. But if it doesn't, well then I won't worry about it. Now I have some other tubs here. These are some that I've already started. These are all apples. And over here I have some more figs. Now you can see how humid this stays. So if you're doing hardwoods like apples, now see that's pretty humid. What I'm probably going to have to do is take and just raise this lid up a little bit, or maybe even take it off, let some of the moisture come out and then put it back on, because you want to control the moisture, but you don't want to rot your wood. You know, start growing fungus or molds or stuff like that. Now here's the ones that we have rooted today. This is a 90 quart tub, which is storage tote, but it's a little larger than I'd like to use. Now I do have bottom heat under part of this and under these other two over there so that it keeps them warm, but I don't have it. The one that I have set with temperature, I just have it set at 77 and have the probe down in the bottom of the soil, because I'm not concerned with getting it really, really warm in there, which it is a comfortable temperature, because sometimes at night here in my workshop I've got the central set to 62, and I'd like to keep it a little warmer on my propagation, so we're going to go that way. But anyway, we do have quite a few added. I'm just about finished propagating. I think I'll do enough apples to maybe finish out. I have some Honeycrisp. But now we'll just let these start growing. Normally it will take, by my estimation with the bottom heat like that, it'll take roughly about 3 to 4 weeks. And I'll start doing an update video. I've got some out in the greenhouse that I had propagated, the first ones that I did, and I looked at them a day or two ago, and they were just getting roots out to the side of the pot, because if they'd been in a cup, they'd probably have noticeable roots. But out there in the pot, it's about a 5 or 6 inch pot, so it takes them a little bit to get to the size. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's give you some knowledge and maybe encourage you to start your own orchard, whether it be figs, which, like I say, there's a lot of varieties, so the flavors are different. You know, apples or whatever. If you want to see more of these and you're not a subscriber, just hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a thing. Hit the bell button so you'll be notified. Give it a big thumbs up. And, of course, share this video with your friends. They might appreciate it too. Happy gardening.